one of my kids, and his name is Elias. I didn't do as much as I often do. I've been to some of your districts doing trainings, and I'll take you on a deeper dive into my own family story. My mother was born and lived her first 18 years on the Leech Lake Reservation in northern Minnesota. She had a pretty visceral experience with poverty. Her mom went to residential boarding schools, and she was trying to find a way out of that. She ended up becoming the first female Native attorney in the state of Minnesota. And when I went to court with her, I would just come walking out of there thinking, you know what? We can do stuff. It's the D in the DEI, the diversity, representation, role models, and it matters. My father was an Austrian Jewish immigrant and survivor of the Nazi Holocaust who had 300 family members murdered and made it out of there, made it to America at 14, served in the US Army at age 17 in World War II, and eventually made his way to Minnesota, met my mom, and here I am. And I have a big family. We have 9 kids. If you like kids, let me know. We actually launched 7 of them. We just have 2 left. This is pretty easy now. Yeah, my wife's like, 2. That's what normal people do. This is easy, you know. But it's a big, beautiful, blended family. And I was married previously, and my ex-wife had a terrible descent into the darkness. She got into drugs. She's currently incarcerated at Shakopee right now, which is probably the healthiest place she could be. It's amazing she's lived through it all, but it's been a couple decades of active using. It's the heartbreak, like, that we all want to spare our kids from. This kid was an infant in arms when she fell, so he got to be the recipient of the kind of blessings and curses only a father can bestow. He has no memory of being held by his mom. And the number one job as a parent is do not mess your kid up, but you don't get any do-overs. I relied a lot on our culture to help him through, to develop a community of healthy, positive, relational practice. We had ceremonies to bless the new house, put a little feather on the southwest corner of the house, and sometimes it would storm, and as a little kid, he'd run outside and do a lap around the house, and then he'd come back inside soaking wet, and I'm like, kid, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just checking on the feather. It keeps us safe. I was like, okay, it's reassuring him. That's good. And we had another ceremony we call a bear smoke, where we build a miniature wigwam, put little offerings in there for each member of the family to kind of keep us together. And he'd be playing in the woods, and he'd look at that, and then it seemed to reassure him. He'd be smiling and off to running. At one point, I was at 7 children single parenting. Yeah, so that was a complete overload. The kids have lots of great stories. You know, didn't take them out to eat that much, and usually, like, twice people clapped when we left restaurants. Like, that's not a joke. Yeah. And one time, I was trying to get a coat on this kid, and he couldn't get his fist through the coat, and I was like, baby, what's in your hands? I got the mac and cheese. And he, like, is smuggling 2 cents worth of mac out of the buffet. And I'm like, why are my kids the resiest kids on the res? And then, like, coming into middle school, this kid ended up being a very outgoing kid. He got into music. He was in show choir, which is like Glee Club. I had to watch every episode of Glee with my children, which was kind of a lift for me. But I was teasing this kid, and I was like, you know, the drama, it's going to be like that. Like, whoever's dating at the start of the school year, they're all going to switch by the end of the school year. There's going to be a lot of crying, a lot of hugging, and a big trophy. Shut up, Dad. You don't know. I was like, okay. And I had to miss his first out-of-town meet, so I said, you give me the call, midnight, 1 a.m., doesn't matter. He says, okay. So I got this call. I wish I could have recorded. It starts with, Dad, I love you. I'm like, I love you too, son. How's it going? And I got a dozen spontaneous I love yous out of a teenage boy, which is awesome. And he's like, I love you, Dad. We won. I love you. Everybody's crying. They're all hugging each other. The trophy's huge. I'm like, I told you. And it's going great. And then it's like pandemic, and, you know, school's canceled, show choir's canceled, friends canceled, blah. And all kids have to break from their parents. Seems like the girls would do it a little earlier than the boys. But it's often at launch time for the boys when they'd have it out with me. And it's a tough time to lose influence over your kid. So I had to push him a little bit, and I said, look, son, there are 1,000 definitions of success, and you do not have to pick anything that I come up with. You have to pick something that you come up with. You've got one brother working on a union construction crew in the Twin Cities. You've got some siblings who've gone to college. You pick, because life will keep happening. There's no such thing as a break. And so he thought and sulked and moped around for a while, and then finally said, okay, college. I'm like, that sounds great. So what are you thinking? And he started talking about Dartmouth. He said, well, you know, of all those Ivy League schools, that's the one with some decent native programs. Part of me's thinking 7% of the people who apply get in, and what's that going to cost? And you know, but I didn't say any of that. My job is to open doors and not close doors, and to coach if he's willing. And so he got started on his application, and he wrote one of the most powerful essays I've ever read. He wrote about our family, my grandma who went to residential boarding school, my mother's, path out of poverty, my dad who he was quite close with and his experience of trauma. And he wrote about his mom and times when he was mad or sad or couldn't feel anything at all except guilty because he couldn't feel anything at all. And then he said, we are more than the sum of our tragedies, and all this trauma stops with me. From a teenager. Took us a minute, and we got this. Let's go! Oh, I'm so happy for you. Oh, my boy. I didn't think I was going to make it. Oh, I made Let's go! Come here, Evan! Out into the snow. Yeah. For us, that was more than a kid getting into the college of his dreams. I think I was terrified. Would he self-sabotage on his way out the door? Or would he deny himself opportunity for the sake of familiarity? Would the trauma triggers trip him up? People told me things like, you save those kids, you pull them out of the darkness, and I was like, I don't think that is the story at all. If anything, it's very much the other way around. We are all pitiful humans trying to practice humanity. And our culture buoyed us all through this, gave him a way to practice at healthy relationships, to demonstrate what triumph through adversity could look like, to restore my faith in the decency of human beings and our ability to overcome. I didn't save him, but he sure saved me.